Amazing.
It was amazing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Four Letter Nerd, a product of Hero Geekix Unlimited. And we are continuing our fantasy month with a day early, but a celebration of Hobbit Day. We will be discussing JRR Tolkien and his amazing works, what we loved, what we don't necessarily love, and a little bit of history with them. Joining me today are two of my most favorite people. Ross Sungod and Mayhem Mike, who I don't know what names they're going by. I'm sorry, Gimli. I guess he shaved his beard.
You know what? I'll change it.
In Fantasy Poop Mayhem. That I'm just gonna call you Maragorn. How's that?
I don't think I spelled it right, but I'll take it.
Smeggle. That's close enough. It's his second cousin twice removed. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
No copyright infringement.
That's one way. That's one way to avoid a lawsuit. Now, I personally, to get a little sidetracked already for 2 seconds in here, I definitely took the name of an elf for sure. That was my inspo for the Starwind name. However, I self-identify as a hobbit. And in cross fandom, something that I have stated for many years, one of the reasons why I Deli Bagel.
You get me out of bodega.
One of the reasons why I self-identify as a hobbit is because I'm a Hufflepuff. And in the grand lore mishmashing, I consider the elves Ravenclaw, the dwarves Gryffindor, the hobbits Hufflepuff, and men Slytherin. And we can argue that on another day, but you're not changing my mind. I said what I said.
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
I don't think dwarves belong in Gryffindor, yo.
I do. They're very brave, but they're brash. They kind of go without thinking, but they were fiercely protective of their friends, and they are show-offs. So that daring, brave,
intelligence a little higher, a lot higher.
Gryffindor takes all kinds of smartness there. Like you got some real bright ones, and you also have what's his name?
Neville,
the one that's always boom. Not Neville. Yeah, Neville. But I was actually thinking the one that's constantly blowing things up. Seamus,
yeah.
He got misplaced. He was a hybrid. Okay.
I don't know. I think everyone is a hybrid if you really delve into those Pottermore tests, the ones that show you what percentage of what house. Because I ride the line between Hufflepuff and Gryffindor, and I 100% understand why. But Ravenclaw, very focused on knowledge, and are the ones closest to the star, the astronomy tower, and get into kind of like that. I don't want to say because it sounds derogatory, but kind of like that, like woo woo, like they do. Mia, damn it!
We're trying to be serious.
I'm trying to explain why I got where I got. And Ravenclaw, again, but they also do stuff that has to do with astrology and astronomy and just basically and herbs and things like that, which is a very Hufflepuff thing as well. But for Hufflepuff, it's branded more in like sense and sensibility, where in Ravenclaw, it's more like for its magical aspects. And then again, hobbits and Hufflepuff love food. They're undergrounds. Next to the kitchen. They value friendship and hard work and perseverance more than everything else. They're not really show-offs or anything. They're beloved by all and great friends, but also very protective of their friends. And I think that very much is Hobbit. And then Slytherin, neither good nor bad. It depends on the person. You have some great Slytherins and you have some awful Slytherins, like you do in every house. Okay. But they are the ones that are the most ambitious. And I find in the works of Tolkien, the men are the ones that fall to their ambition more often than any other of the races, especially under the ring.
Right.
Okay. Under the One Ring. So that is why I got where I got. Potatoes.
I knew it. I knew it was
boil them, mash them, put them in a stew.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
So now that I have explained badly and interrupted by my dear Mia, what do you think? Do you still feel that I am wrong in my placements?
You are not. Yes, we dwarves are very brash and we love to show off and show that we are better than everyone else.
Listen, just because you don't,
especially at short distances.
You don't
Yes.
think high enough of yourself to tell people. That's not our fault. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
But but I don't necessarily think that any of those things are bad traits.
Okay. This is true. This
Do
is
you know what I
The
mean?
connotation you presented is kind of tricky. It's like,
They're brave and brash, and they're a bit show offy,
They-
and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are like want to be in the spotlight, and again, nothing wrong with that.
right.
true.
Alright, fair
This is
enough.
dwarves. This is true. I see this. I change my reply. Yes, we would be Gryffindor.
I would like to have an episode on this. I'm
What
committed
house
to
are you in?
this.
Smeggle?
Gryffindor. Smeggles Gryffindors.
And you, Gimli, are you also Gryffindor?
I am Ravenclaw.
See, that totally checks out for me. I buy that 100%. I buy that. And then I'm a Hufflepuff, and I think that totally fits. I also am a big hugger, and people think like family friends, like what's the thing. I don't have hairy feet though, so we're gonna draw the line there.
Yeah,
Wait.
my beard is lacking. See, I can't grow that excellence that's down there.
I would love to live in a hobbit hole. Like I would love to live in the Shire. I want to go to New Zealand so bad.
Is there a
around
Hogwarts
time.
like nair spell, or even to stop hair from growing?
What?
Think about it. Just
He said, "Is there a Hogwarts nair spell?"
think about it.
Probably. I wouldn't want to mess with it.
I don't know. I'm kind of. I mean,
I kind of
it's
feel
like
like
all your hair.
you could really like. For me, I'm sure that there are hair salons, like magical hair salons, where that could be done.
100%. Got to
An
do it. I gotta do it.
Azkaban affiliate.
Here's my AA card.
He's a
I
pro.
feel like Harry Potter Smeggle would have been in Azkaban, and that's where he would be chilling with his precious.
True.
And there's a lot of parallels there. So anyway, that's how I got to where I got. If you disagree, feel free to, but you're wrong, and I'm right. So moving on.
So what she's saying is, yeah, she right. Just yeah.
I said what I said, but honestly, logically, it makes sense.
I think when we compare
It
the
makes
two,
sense.
I would have you know what? It's funny because I think Gandalf, the wizard himself,
Mhm.
may have actually been a Slytherin and or Ravenclaw.
I firmly believe that.
Early Gandalf was Slytherin, straight up.
That's
He
what I was
all about
thinking.
that ambition.
I think like Gandalf and Dumbledore are very parallel in the sense that they're very powerful. They fucked up, and that's why they now don't like to take power unless they're absolutely forced to.
Traumatized.
Yeah, and do not have a problem sending young, because remember, hobbits are like children,
Right.
on dangerous quests without giving them all the information that they need.
Hi.
So I think the two characters do share a lot in common. I'm not quite sure that either one of them, like I think that they ride that line of Slytherin and Gryffindor. No, excuse me, I'm wrong. Slytherin and Ravenclaw. I think they ride that line there because I sometimes think ambition and knowledge can really take you down the wrong path.
If I could just say one thing really quickly, I
Sure.
think in fantasy, whether it be in fantasy or even like sci-fi fantasy and such, like sending children to do stuff is okay.
Right?
It's like the unwritten rule. Like it's all right because it's a learning experience to learn how to be grown.
You're
And to
gonna
the
die.
extent,
You're gonna come back better or
right?
evil.
We'll give you like a person to watch you for a little
I'm
bit.
willing to risk that for you.
Right. And you know what? I'm really happy that you are doing this episode because you like know everything and you really.
I
like,
wouldn't say I
think that-
know everything, but I
You
have
know-
spent way too much time thinking about that.
That's okay.
to have such a solid argument at this point.
When we decide to do the fantasy sci-fi the Animorphs, you come back to me. I got you.
All right.
K.A. Applegate, I got this.
Got you.
Man said Animorphs.
Okay, so back to Tolkien. January 3rd, 1892, he was born in South Africa. And he died September 2nd, 1973 in England at the age of 81.
Excuse me.
He fought in World War I under King George V. And it was actually there while he was working in the military. Actually, he was ill from battle. He started to write his short poems and stuff. And it started to be a history of England. But he so loved languages and stories of like the Old Norse and language that he started writing his own fantasy. He was married to a woman named, I'm giving you a very brief synopsis because I'd like to move on to the actual works. He was married to a woman named Edith, and when she passed, he actually created the character of Luthien around her, which I think is very romantic and beautiful. And that was the basis for the story of the Silmarillion.
Mhm.
I can never pronounce that, and I don't know why, but I'm glad you can. Yes,
Thank
I just saw
you.
that quote where he was describing the scene. He's like, I'm old and I can't even do this justice the way that she looked, how beautiful she was,
Mm.
and how she danced and sang in that grove at Ruse. And that's just a beautiful thing to say about your spouse right there. It's like, look,
Yeah.
she was wonderful. I can't put it into words that would do her justice, but this is what I'm going to try to fumble through. And it still came out eloquent as fuck.
When somebody has that much of a passion for words, they can't help but write everything beautifully. And one of the things that his works, Lord of the Rings, which I actually have several copies of the book. This is just one of them
The
that came
big
with the
book.
map. Yeah, this is a big one.
Hold on. Can you show that again? I'm gonna magnify so you can see it.
Sure.
Mhm.
Boom.
It's amazing.
Beautiful artwork on here.
Mm.
This is the 50th anniversary edition. It actually comes with a world map inside, which I've kept in the book. I actually have all the separated books too, but someone is borrowing that and The Hobbit from me at this time, so I don't have either. But I do have one of lesser known works that was finished by his son, The Legend of Sigurd and Gudrun. If you are a Tolkien head, of someone who enjoys his works, you will enjoy this. If you are more of a casual fan where you like Lord of the Rings or you played the games, watch the films, that kind of thing, and you're watching The Rings of Power on Amazon, maybe not so much for you. But if you want to branch out and give them a read, I love world building. I love fantasy lore. I do Ren fairs, as you can see. I live for this stuff. I think that there's not enough magic in the world for me. Like, I'll take all of it that I can get. But I just wanted to give a brief synopsis of Tolkien and his works, and let's dive into the actual live action and animated and what have you.
Yes.
So I'm going to just go around the room. Have you read the books?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I've read the series.
And that's fine. We are not gatekeeping here.
No, again.
But I was just going to add, my first question was going to be, do you have a favorite book to film adaptation, whether it be series or, and we do have to put in here, Rings of Power is a much condensed version of the Silmarillion, along with some of the verses and poems that appear in his other works. So if you say Rings of Power, which is a valid answer, you're really picking from more of a cornucopia of things, whereas like Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are obviously not just based in there, but mostly based on those books. So I'm going to go with Gimli first. Did you have a favorite book to any kind of adaptation?
My favorite, I'm old school. My favorite adaptation would have to be the old school animated.
The animated
film.
ones from the 70s?
Yes. Oh my, because I read the book and then I got that feast for the eyes, and I was like, oh my god! I'm like, what is this? I'm like, ooh. I'm like, is this what they're doing with the book? I'm like, and actually watching the animated film is what made me want to read more of the books. And I was like, yo, let's go. Let me get some more of this. And actually, it's the reverse of Harry Potter, because Harry Potter, I watched the movies. I didn't care about the books. And then my boss was like, here, check this book out. You might like it. I was like, I'll give it a read. And then I read the last 4 Harry Potter books, smashed them right out.
I would have to agree. I really love the animated series. There's something about that type of animation, and also the way that they moved, like the characters themselves, the way they moved. There was something like more magical that you can't really capture in live action that you can in animation. And also, I feel like with a fantasy series, you've built so much what these characters look in your head, and you can't find a person that meets all of those criteria perfectly. And in the animated, you can stay much truer to the character there. But okay, so that's my favorite book to any kind of adaptation, I have to say, is the very first Hobbit film, and I say this for one reason only. There is a line in the Hobbit books where Gandalf talks about one of Bilbo Baggins' ancestors and how he had a history of adventurous hobbits in his family to try to convince him to go on this quest. And he spoke about one of his great grandfathers, or I believe great granduncle, who not only drove out a troll but invented the game of golf at the same time. And it was a line that I always really enjoyed in the book, and they put it in the film. And for that, that hit that sweet spot just for that scene. However, the one that I watched the most is the Two Towers, because that last day when they look to the sun and he says, the king stands alone, Theoden King stands alone.
Yeah.
And Éomer comes out and says, not alone, Rohirrim to the king. That scene is a cinematic masterpiece that I do not believe can ever be matched. Be topped. Smeggle, do you have a favorite adaptation? I know you have not read the books, but that's neither here nor there at this point. Just
So, speaking to my friends who are a little bit more invested than I am in this series, it's actually the Two Towers. I personally like the first one. I was like the Lord of the Rings. It kind of got you invested into it, but I understand because they are, I guess, Tolkien heads, if you will. So like they go over everything. Like the book said this, so the movie has to say
right.
that. And there was just a lot of things that kind of stayed true to the material, or did it in a better way, or in a I don't want to say a better way, in such a way that it was worth doing, that they talked about. And I was like, okay, yeah,
sure, makes sense.
Yeah, so like I get where they're coming from too, because whenever you have a series that you are like like you just love altogether, and they adapt it from the books to the film or TV, like you're looking for it to be identical or hold up just as much weight, you know. So I'm gonna go with the Two Towers because it seems like all the Tolkien heads, or the majority, seem to agree that the Two Towers was the best adaptation. I don't know what's going on with Ravenclaw.
Gimli's face.
Sorry,
It's okay. To your point, though, I think for people who are Tolkien heads, and I speak for myself, I love the Fellowship of the Ring for what it is. But for people who have read the books, who are already familiar with the lore, I think the Fellowship of the Ring, I don't want to use the word dragged, but because it was setting up so much, you had so much dialogue in that first one because they're setting the universe. We already know the universe, so we want to get to it.
Right. Yeah.
So I love all of the Lord of the Rings. I watch the extended versions. I throw a Hobbit day party. We watch that. We watch the Hobbits. Haven't done it in a few years, but that used to be a thing for me. And we'd have 7 meals for, breakfast and second breakfast and 11 Z's and all of that good stuff. I enjoy them all for what they are. Now on to our least favorite Tolkien adaptations. And this can include games, series, whatever. I'm going to once again start with Gimli. You let me know. What is your least favorite?
The Hobbit movies. Like, I understand.
All 3, or just like pick one? Or
well, like I said, it should have been one movie. It did not.
Yes.
Two at most.
Yes, two at most. It did not need to be 3, because they were stuck on the look, trilogy for the first set. They were a trilogy of books, trilogy for the new movie. No, give me one good movie, 1.5, 2 movies. 3 movies was way too much.
Well, to be fair, this is when they were doing all of these, like Deathly Hallows got split into 2 movies. The Twilight series got split into 4 movies, and there were 3 books. This was just at a time where they were really trying to stretch out as much as they could. Everything was, let's see how many movies we can make out of this. And I think that was because of the success of not only the Harry Potter films, but also like
Lord of the Rings.
There was another one that I was...
Who else stretched out?
There's another one that I was trying to think of, and now I can't remember. But like the popularity of certain things, so they were trying to like stretch, get as much.
Star Wars, probably.
Yeah, there was several things that were doing successful. The more that they, and Marvel was already kind of starting on their stuff by the time the Hobbits came out. Not the Lord of the Rings, but the Hobbits. They were already setting up their cinematic universe. So I think everyone was just trying to like get on that. Let's see how many we can get out of that. But I understand why you say The Hobbit, and I figured that it would be a surprise for me to say that my favorite was a Hobbit, but I didn't want to pick animated because I knew that you would. And I didn't want to repeat it. And I didn't want to go with the Lord of the Rings because there really is that first Hobbit film really is so good. It set everything up so nicely, and it's just a shame what came afterwards because that first film I was so excited and on board for and ready to see how they played it out. But I do agree that they certainly made it too long. Smeggle.
Hobbit 2, The Unexpected Journey. I'm going to tell you something you may not know about me.
You mean The Hobbit as well?
Yes. So
okay, because when you said The Hobbit 2, I thought you meant the second film.
Oh, okay, yeah. This the Hobbit 2. Yeah, that's the second movie.
Hobbit number 2, part 2.
Yeah, part 2.
Okay, The Desolation of Smaug.
I thought it was An Unexpected Journey.
That was the first
No,
one.
the first one's The Unexpected Journey. Second one is Desolation of Smaug, and the third one is the Battle of.
See, that's how much I hate it because I watched it, and you know how like you go through class and you like don't remember anything. I'll give you a great example. You go through whatever class. All right, cool. You got through it, and you're like, oh, so-and-so, I need this. And you're like, we did that. And you go through the notes. We did through that. Like, you copied it. Like, it's there, but you don't know how you got from point A to point B. I got lost, and I was just like, you know what? Oh, maybe the movie you were thinking of was also Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I knew that there was a couple of things that were kind of... they were doing more and more and more and more of. So it was just like, I think everyone was just kind of on that train for a minute.
Black Pearl, Savvy. I'm the best pirate, but I am a pirate you heard of. Like, it was amazing. And then what? Will has to sign a deal and he never gets to see his kid and he's a pirate. Then they come back to Davy Jones' locker. There's a Kraken and then a sword fight. I fell asleep during the sword fight. I'm going to admit it here. I fell asleep in the movie theater at the sword fight. No regrets, goddammit. So, you know, I was willing to give it a try, and it was just like, I don't know what happened.
So the first one, you're talking about The Unexpected Journey, because that is the first one.
The second one.
The second was The Desolation of Smaug.
I will definitely admit to that, yes.
What's funny about The Desolation of Smaug, the end of it, if you saw the movie, it just goes to black.
Yes.
And you're like, so you're thinking it's just a break between scenes, right? And we're going to end up somewhere else. And then the credits start rolling. And I sat forward in my seat like, what the?
Were they trying to
I went to the midnight back when they did. They didn't do like releases. The 5 p.m. releases, the midnight releases. I went to the midnight releases for The Hobbit and The Desolation of Smaug. But then by the time Battle of 5 Armies came out, that's when they were already doing the evening ones, which was like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. on Thursday. And I went to that one instead. I did the same thing for Star Wars. My least favorite is the Battle of 5 Armies. I think that it should have been 2, and had it ended with a 2, I would forgive a lot of like these unnecessary scenes that were in there, plus romances, because you know how I feel about unnecessary romances.
Say that.
Toriel and I forgot his name. The brothers.
The dwarf and the elf, yes. It's like, why is this?
It's gonna Killy and Philly. Okay, Keely or Philly. One of them. Anyway, when they announced the Battle of 5 Armies, I initially was excited because I thought this was going to be the Wizard War against the Necromancer. Ooh. That's legitimately what I thought, because in the books, Gandalf takes off just like he does in the film, and he doesn't really say why. He's like, I'm off to handle business. And in the film, you do kind of see him go to check out the Necromancer, where Radagast tells him at that like abandoned castle thing. And I thought, oh, we're going to get that. Hell yeah. Because they allude to it, but you never see it. And in The Hobbit, he just goes and then he comes back and that's it. They don't mention it again. So when they announced the Battle of 5 Armies, I'm thinking, heck yeah, we're going to see a wizard war. That's going to be dope. I'm excited. And instead we got graboids and we got freaking trolls and orcs and ice battles and crying over our mates and deaths that did not happen for 500 Alex, and it was just too much.
What is deaths that did not happen, Alex?
And so that was very disappointing because there was so much to love about the Hobbit films, and I think that sometimes the things that make you the most upset are the things that had the most potential. Like we had Beorn. I was excited to get Beorn because we did not get Tom Bombadil in The Lord of the Rings, and we should have effing got Tom Bombadil in The Lord of the Rings. I would still love to see that if they ever turn that into the series. I hope that he ends up popping up in the Rings of Power, even though in the Rings of Power, This is something that's supposed to be happening over well over 1,000 years, and they're condensing it all into one timeline. So we're getting Isildur a good 800 years before he's supposed to exist in the Silmarillion. Which I don't hate. I understand them doing it, but if that's what they're doing, I want to see some of the people that got left out of the film. Mostly Tom Bombadil. Note to Amazon.
I mean, seriously.
Give me some Tom Bombadil.
Bardic dude just running around telling you stories and information in your movie.
Someone who is completely unaffected by the ring.
Right? He's like, oh, all right, cool, whatever, I don't care.
He picks up the ring, he pulls it off like it's like a piece of tinfoil or something, and just like, whoop. He is supposed to be in the Tolkien works kind of like a god figure, because he's supposed to be older than even the elves themselves. That they don't even know when he came around, that when the elves were there, he was already there. So he's supposed to be kind of like God, I think. But as in God in the Christian, and I apologize for doing this, but it's just a Christian God. He is always was, always will be, always is. So there was no beginning for him. He was always there. He was there before Numenor. He was there before the Luthien. He was there before the elves. He was there before all of it. So I don't see why he wouldn't be in the Rings of Power. But on that note, let's talk about it. How are we feeling? Are you all caught up?
No.
Okay, let's not get into super specifics then. But what has everyone seen at least an episode?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So you're one episode in?
Yes.
Okay, and what are your thoughts?
I like how it's setting up stuff, but I kind of feel like to some extent they're going to make it cheesy. They're going to end it cheesy. Like, if there's going to be more than one season, it's going to be one of those, oh, by the way, this is something new, but we're not going to explain it. And it's just like, come back for season 2. And I'm just going to be like, really? But I like it. I could be totally wrong. I'm going to I'm more interested in this God figure and like the books.
Oh, Tom Bombadil?
Yes, I'm more interested in him in the books, because now I want to know, well, why isn't he, fully, I'm pretty sure maybe they don't, maybe they do explain why, but I want to go through that adventure. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a cheesy TV series.
I don't want to tell you how he appears in the book, or how we are introduced to him in the book, but it is definitely a scene that I think that they should have left in and omitted some of the other stuff that they did put in.
Okay.
They also, for Lord of the Rings, the films, they gave Arwen, someone who's only mentioned in one of the poems in the Lord of the Rings build, a part that actually belonged to, and I apologize if I'm saying this wrong, because I've only read the book, so I'm not 100% sure of the pronunciation of some of these names if they weren't put into any adaptations, but Cereborn or Caraborn. I'm not quite sure if it's supposed to be a hard C or a soft C.
I think.
But he plays a larger part in the books, and a lot of what he does is given to Arwen to give her a bigger part in the book. Now, I'm all for diversity and representation, but I don't hate that it was given to Arwen so much, and that she was given a bigger part, because I do think the story of Arwen and Aragorn is a beautiful story in the way that they told it. But I do feel bad for Cereborn, because it kind of downplays how important he is in all of this, because he should be in this series as well. And his part, because he has a part to play with Galadriel. I love what they're doing with Galadriel. She doesn't really get a backstory in the Silmarillion. She just is. They don't really say anything about how she got to where she got. So seeing this is very exciting for me. And getting this young, brash, gung-ho, kind of Gryffindorish Galadriel is really exciting for me, because what we see is the end result of that, and you only get a glimpse of that when she takes the ring from Frodo. When they take refuge with her, and you see that kind of like the intensity in the eyes and how it could have gone had she just turned left instead of turned right at an integral part of the story. My one complaint, and it's a stupid complaint, but I'm going to complain anyway. Galadriel's 6'4". Kate Blanchett is 5'9". This actress is 5'3".
Oh no. They going the wrong way.
Ah,
They going the wrong way.
big.
Maybe she goes through some stuff and maybe she drinks some of the Ent water and she gets taller, and that's how she gets to the Galadriel Kate Blanchett height. And it's a stupid little complaint, but it's still a complaint. I'm sure they could have found someone talented. I would have actually accepted Kate Blanchett as Galadriel, and
Again.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would have taken her now anyway. One of the things about Galadriel is her height, and it's not a super important part of the story, but it is something that's mentioned quite a bit because it's part of what makes her like so statuesque, and
Right.
part of like people being in awe of her is her height. So I understand not being able to find a 6'4" woman now to play that, but I kind of wish they had found someone
They could have used
closer to Kate
prosthetics.
Blanchett's height.
They could have used Captain Phasma.
Absolutely, they could have.
They could
I
use
would have been down for
prosthetics.
Brienne of Tarth. Like Gwendolyn Christie is her real name. Like that. I would have been fine with that. I think she's a very talented actress.
You
But I
probably-
do kind of wish that they had found someone a little bit closer in height to Kate Blanchett, because
Mhm.
like the proportions for me are kind of off, because there's a lot of people taller than her in this series, and she's
And they-
supposed to be an
towering over
intimidating
them.
person that towers over people. Absolutely. And that's part of like what makes her so awe-inspiring and stuff, is just her presence.
You think Brienne goes to like Target and somebody goes, Brienne, it's Brienne.
I hope that they don't do that anymore, but I'm sure there was a time that they
Yeah.
did.
I thought that was amazing. I'm sorry.
I hope that people have some kind of chill and just, aren't super obnoxious, but
We can hope.
people are super obnoxious, so I'm sure that it happens. Sure that it did.
Oh my god. I think honestly this series I think honestly has test episodes. It's a conspiracy. Hear me out. So they have an original. What episode are we up to right now? I want to make sure. Is it 3?
4.
4. So I believe by 5, if it doesn't go the way that the director had originally planned, they got some other episodes they filmed. They're like, all right, this is more to the lore. People will enjoy this. We'll release these so we can get a second season, if anything.
Do you know how expensive that would be, sir?
Okay, as someone who's all caught up and not trying to give anything away, the production value that's gone into this show, not to mention the world building that they're doing right now, it would be hard to divert from the path that they're already on. This is one of those, absolutely nothing's impossible. But this is one of those shows that absolutely already has a beginning and an end. So right now we're getting the middle. They know how this is ending and when this is ending. This show has already been planned out that far. So for them to not want to commit to that, I don't think it's doing as badly as maybe some people are making it out to seem that it is. I'm really enjoying it. I try not to read articles and stuff about who this might be and who that might be. I have my own theories, and I'm excited to see if they play out or not. There are some characters that have not been named that I have my own thoughts on who that person or those people might be. And I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm all in. But I can only speak for myself. What about you, Gimli? How are you feeling about it?
I've yet to watch them. I have so many things to watch. I can't help it. But it will be on there. It's on the list.
I'm gonna quote the boss lady. You're on a pop culture show. You need to be up to date on these things.
Ooh.
Yeah, she does say that often.
And this is the Hobbit Day Tolkien episode, my dude.
This is. I came 3/4 prepared. I'm sorry for that last quarter that I did not bring to the table. It's still in the kitchen cooking. I haven't even got it in the oven yet. It's still in the mixing bowl. I'm sorry.
So we're gonna move on from the Rings of Power, because I'm afraid that if I continue to talk about it, I may end up giving something away, and I don't want to do that. I am one of those people that are annoying, and no matter how much you ask me what happens, I'm gonna just continue to say, you got to watch it yourself. I'm not telling you nothing. Mia, how was my impression?
It was spot on. It was spot on.
Thank you. So one area that I'm not super familiar with, and I believe you two might be, are the Lord of the Rings games. I have not played a single one of them. Have
I've played
either
a
of you
few.
played those games?
Yes.
Yes. The first set that came out, they were okay. One of the ones that I liked the best was, oh, I forget. See, I played so many video games. It's the one where you can literally play it like you play Baldur's Gate, and you just choose who's in the party, and you get, they get the experience, and you like run through the different side missions that were happening during the main story of the movie and some of the quests from the book, and it was really fun. And aside from that one, oh, this is just so how many games my brain is rotten from just random trivia.
See,
Um,
I get it. When you're trying to call something up, your brain is like, absolutely not. We're
it's
not doing
like,
that
hold up,
right now.
hold up, wait. It was Lord of
Here's
the
the
Rings
corn
Shadows.
video from TikTok. There you
Exactly.
go.
Dude, she's been on that all day today, all day, just randomly. It's
I feel like
cold.
that's a Hobbit song too. I feel like a Hobbit child is the one that originally sang that song. I've
I can
seen
see
the
that.
original video, but I'm gonna say that kid's a Hobbit.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the one where you're the dead person and you can possess everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that has some crazy unique gameplay when it came out. It's like, yeah, so I'm a dude and I see a troll over there. I'm gonna possess that troll and make him shoot that troll. They're gonna get mad at each other and start fighting. And I'm gonna sneak in over here and kill that guy when they're fighting, and then go finish off whoever's done over there. I'm like, I can get down with that because every now and again I need some stealth in my games. And if I can possess somebody, make them go do something to make somebody else mad and make them fight to make my job easier, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm all about that.
Horrible. What I loved about the game is the game, because I only played one and I was like, I'm okay. I didn't beat it or anything, but I love how it tries to lure you into the world and the history and just the overall world universe of Lord of the Rings, in case, because they also take an effect that people who don't know as much as you guys, they explain certain things, but then for the people that do know that are Tolkien heads, they want you to have a better experience altogether. I personally like the Lego one. The Lego one was funny. Okay. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't need to do this anymore.
I actually forgot that I was one of the beta testers for Lord of the Rings Online. I forgot. It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago, as Weird Al says. So but I was a beta tester for Lord of the Rings Online. I was very excited to get that beta key to go in and create my character. Of course, I spent way too long creating my little peasant girl, and so I did play that during beta testing, but I ended up not playing it when it went live because I was already playing a game that was taking up a lot of my time called City of Heroes, where I did have a character called Starwen of Rivendell, and she was an archer and also a healer. So
at least you stayed true.
Listen, when I
Right.
say the geek run deep, the geek runs deep.
It
it's all
runs
the
deep.
way into my soul.
Into her soul.
Into my soul. But yeah, I'm sorry. I did forget that I played those games. But by the time, like, I've never been a big console gamer, only because I get dizzy, and a lot of that, like,
Promotion.
yeah, from the motion, and then with the I don't have really great hand-eye coordination, so with the controllers and that, and like I can't do 3D stuff like that, it makes me dizzy, and then like I start feeling like my stomach starts feeling weird, and I don't like it. But I was a PC gamer, and that's where I played City of Heroes and Lord of the Rings Online. And for some reason, on the keyboard where my hands are doing this, and I'm using the mouse as opposed to having like a joystick in my hand, it just seemed like doing the X, Y, X, X, X. I'm like, no, fuck it, forget it, no.
Well, as a gamer
this
myself,
I can do.
as a gamer myself, this right here, because you're using your wrist, you have a little bit more control on where to point the camera and do certain things. Whereas I don't. Oh, I do actually have a control. Look at that. Whereas this, they don't sponsor us yet, but they will. This is a lot harder. So then you're overcompensating sometimes.
I think that's what it is. I just couldn't, like, it didn't feel comfortable in my hands stuff. I just felt more comfortable with the keyboard and the mouse. But today in a meeting, I put AFK instead of BRB. So
As someone who's gotten back into one of the bigger spin-offs of Lord of the Rings, World of Warcraft, I do that. Yeah. Wow. I,
Wow.
I'm back into it. So yeah, my friend found one of those lovely free servers with the classic version of the game, and yeah, I'm back in. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not gonna give y'all any more money because where your politics have been lately, but yeah, I'll
Oh,
play this free version of your game.
Well, I was really bummed when City Heroes went offline, and because that was a game like I had built friendship. I'm still friends with the people that were in my super group way back then. We actually met up in Chicago one year to go. So City Heroes is back on a private server that they've made public, and so fans can play it again. But I no longer have a PC capable of running it, and I also just don't have the time to like I did before. You know how those campaigns can run three hours or more. And badge hunting but I loved like trick or
no.
treating there where you're knocking on the doors and the bad guys come out and you get treats and I miss how it was back then, but I'm just in a different place right now where I can't commit the neurons to it. It's just I
Right.
don't have the time, the energy. But to all you gamers out there keeping City of Heroes alive, Starwind of Rivendell, Sid and I, and Portuguese Princess say what's up. Those are my 3 level 50s. Guardian server exclusively.
Oh, oh.
I mean, there were other servers. There's
No,
like
no,
Liberty and all these other ones, but I stuck with Guardian.
no. Just let the gun smoke at this point.
Exactly. Just let it sit there.
Shh. Let's just end the show. You know what? It's fine.
We're done.
So I actually already kind of answered this, but and I know because you haven't read the book, but the way that this question is, I feel like something you can. What is something that you haven't seen in any of Tolkien's works that you would like to see going forward? Like for me, as I've already stated, Tom Bombadil is definitely something that I would like to see. Someone that I would like to see in the Rings of Power since we haven't gotten him anywhere else. But what is something
A
that you would
wizard
love
on wizard fight, wizard on wizard crime, like a full.
I wonder
So
if
you
we
didn't
might
like the little
get
spinny room fight that Gandalf
Saruman.
and Saruman had? It was like, ooh, spin
No.
you around, yeah, let's go. I was
See,
like, what the hell am I watching? It's fucking merry-go-round.
right. It's like when Liam Neeson does like a stunt and they're like, oh, shaky camera, different
Yeah,
angles, shaky
right.
camera. It's really him. Jumps over the gate.
I think that with what we're seeing in the Rings of Power, it's very possible for us to get a wizard war, or at least a wizard battle.
That's nice.
But again, with this being the Silmarillion and some some of the poems that are in both Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, I think that they're going to be trying to backfill in a lot of that stuff that we just didn't get in the series, in the series or in the series of films or the series that we're seeing now. But absolutely, I would still love to see the Wizard War against the Necromancer. I think that would fit in beautifully within one of these seasons. I don't know how many seasons they're planning for this show, but as long as they stay as true to the material as they can to lead us to Fellowship of the Ring, or excuse me, to lead us to the Hobbit first and then Fellowship of the Ring, I'm all in. Like again, I know Hobbit gets a lot of hate, and I also hate on it, especially Battle of Five Armies. It is a visually beautiful film, and the fact that we do get Beorn, and Beorn looks amazing, is probably one of my favorite things in reference to the Hobbits. I could have done without all the other stuff, but the dwarves look fantastic. The casting was fantastic. Thorin Oakenshield, he was everything that you wanted him to be.
He was that dwarf.
He was that dwarf.
Is there a story where it's just from the villain's perspective and how they affect the heroes?
No, there isn't.
Then I change my original answer to that. I would love just a villain, like imagine a perspective, kind of piggybacking off of Mia's comment where she wants to saw a movie or show, whichever one happens, where it's like the villain goes through so much to give the heroes hell, and it's so much more deeper than we think.
There is a character in the Rings of Power that is definitely someone that I'm very interested in finding out who they are and what their backstory is to how they got to where they are right now. So I am all about the rise of the villain, and that might be something that might be a later season to come in where it flips perspective. I think a lot of people would be very interested to know more about Sauron himself, or even any of his generals. Like from one of his generals' perspectives, it might be a great one. Or even Wormtail.
Oh,
Worm tongue.
Ooh. Yeah. Show how like why'd you get all corrupted like that, bro? What's really going on? What's really good? Why'd you take
And
this?
and like this, the title says Rings of Power. We may see. My assumption is that we're going to see not only the making and distributing of these rings, but also the decline in different ways of everyone who took those rings, how we
right.
got the ring rates, and all of that. So I'm very, very invested in where the Rings of Power is going. I'm easy to, well, I don't think necessarily that I'm easy to please as far as the thing. I do have a very critical eye for things that I'm very passionate about, but at the same time I feel like they do respect the material in such a way for Rings of Power that I'm not seeing a lot of the tropes that disappointed me in the films that came before them.
Okay.
And that for me, once again, is a needless romance. Like, I know romances are going to happen, but when that becomes the focal point in all of these films, it's disappointing. I don't need it. I don't think that's not what these films are. These are high fantasy. These are not romances. That's what Outlander is for.
Right.
That's what like The Invitation is for. Those are your high fantasy romances, and that's the things that you're looking for there. That's not what these books are, and I would love if they remember that in what they're doing. Gimli,
one thing for me
yeah,
is some. I feel about this the way I feel about the Skywalkers and Star Wars. Yeah, it's cool, but there's other people. Man, leave Legolas alone. Like, bruh, like you weren't in the Hobbit. What are you doing here? It's like, what is this?
all of them, Toriel. And well, actually, I wouldn't have minded Toriel if we didn't have Legolas. I think having both was too much.
I'm like serious. I'm like,
and also the romance. Having Toriel play the Legolas role without that romance with Keely. I think it was Keely that she had the romance with. What I think would have made the movies better. Like, we didn't need it. We didn't need it. For me, the biggest romance was between oh my gosh, what's his name? The one that ends up killing Smaug.
Oh, more Legolas.
Yeah, the more Legolas. His romance with his deceased wife was a better love story for me than what we got with Toriel and Killy, because the reverence that he had for his wife was beautiful, just like the reverence that Tolkien had for his wife in creating the like Luthien and the Silmarillion is really based around her and her beauty and grace and light and everything. That to me is more beautiful and more romantic a story than anything that they ended up putting on the screen. No hate to Aragorn and Arwen or Eowyn and Faramir. Like, everybody needs love. I appreciate it, but it just kind of overtook some of the story at some points, and it wasn't necessary. We didn't need it. Give me more Radagast the Brown and his Rastabel rabbits. I'm here for that.
I'm like, this man's just running through the woods with just random animals on his ass. Like, yeah, this is cool. It's my life.
And there's so much about the Rings of Power that I want to talk about, but I can't because y'all are trifling. Like, I can't believe you came here not having watched it. There's so much I want to talk about.
But you know what's great? Same time. You know what's crazy? We did the same time. That was crazy. You know, it's crazy that certain series that we can't talk about because...
What? I'm all caught up on everything.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, thank the Lord.
What wasn't I caught up on?
What was it? You weren't caught on Miss Marvel, The Boys.
No. The only thing was that I wasn't caught up on the week before that we were supposed to watch it, but then I watched the whole thing before the next episode. So I was caught up. Thank you.
What about She-Hulk? Are you caught up on She-Hulk?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank the... Oh.
But we're not going to be talking about it for 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks anyway.
Okay. You know, are you caught up on Andor? What?
It only came out today.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Neither
no,
am
I am not.
Aha!
The episode that dropped today while I was at work, and then I came home and ate a bowl of cereal and put this corset on and came on here. No, I haven't watched it yet.
3 episodes.
What?
Yeah, they dropped 3 episodes today. Very true. Very true.
What? Okay. What cereal did you have?
Total.
You know what? You lost me. Sorry. No forgiveness. Shame on you.
Damn.
I like Total. Yes.
Damn. All right, Mr. Man. What's your cereal then?
peanut butter Captain Crunch. Okay, it's
See,
too
I
hard.
like the roof of my mouth not to be shredded after
Listen,
I'm done
hey,
eating, sir.
hey,
I microwave
hey,
it when I get that to
this
make
is
it soft
not
before I
about
eat it.
you, Reggie. This is
It's
about
really
me.
good. It's kind
No,
of gross, but it's
One
good.
hundred
this is
percent.
my
I don't.
judgment of you.
Total. The woman named Total is actually agreeing with you. Okay, Total, because you're taking the name of cereal. That's what I'm going with right now. So anyway, Reese's peanut butter Captain Crunch. Excuse me.
What
Is
I'm saying
amazing.
is if you microwave it first, then you
No,
don't have to worry
no,
about the roof of
no,
your
no.
mouth.
You don't have to do any of that. First of all, just don't eat it as much because you know our dental plans. Look, it's either gonna cut your mouth or it's gonna be too soggy, but it's an enjoyable cereal. You just gotta find the medium. You gotta hit it just
That's
right.
like Fruity
No,
Pebbles too.
yeah,
Oh
I
no.
do
no, you
love
gotta
me
eat
some
those
Fruity
quick. You
Pebbles.
gotta eat them quick, or they're
Right.
done.
But
Right.
what I'm saying is anything that has the word Captain Crunch attached to it, if you microwave it for like 10, 15 seconds before eating it, then you still get that chewiness without that
You
crunch
Is
that
this
and
hurts
in
the
it's
the
top
bowl
of your
of
microwave.
mouth
milk?
and it's
Are you
delicious.
heating up your milk? Is
Are
that what
you
it's
trying to
doing?
advertise
No,
to a
I pour
microwave
the
company?
cereal in, then I pour the milk on top, and then I put that in the microwave to
She
soften the
is trying
cereal.
to advertise for a microwave company.
I'm
I've
not.
never seen a microwave advertisement in my
I don't
life.
even know what brand of microwave I have in my house.
It's just microwave.
Oh, like the microwave's like 15 years old. I don't remember.
Do- GE? I don't know. Like, do they make-
Probably. I don't know.
It's
I
the
don't know.
microwave from the microwave company.
Yes. It's Mr. Microwave. I bought it from Spaceballs.
You know what?
It's Mr. Microwave.
We're gonna let you have that one. We're gonna let you have that
Thank
one.
you. Okay. There was. Oh, I've already done my Harry Potter as fantasy. Is there any other parallel? Because next week we are going to be talking about our favorite fantasy series or films, what games, what have you, and something that we would like to be turned into live action series, film, whatever, next week. So before we go today, because we should be wrapping it up, aside from our favorites and things, is there anything that you've watched that maybe at the first time you didn't think there was any correlation, but now that we've had this discussion, any other media that you have consumed that's like, huh, that's a Lord of the Rings thing?
Oh, so much anime. So much anime.
I was gonna say that too.
So much. It's like, hey, look, it's a bunch of them on a quest sent by that guy who ain't on the quest to go take care of the quest.
And you know, Tolkien, he built such a beautiful world, his own language. Hobbits didn't exist before him. Orcs and goblins, in the way that they are portrayed in these works, did not exist that way.
He did not exist without him.
Yeah. And all because of his love for a woman that and his love of languages and lore that we got this. I would love to see, one of my favorite references was actually from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Bucky says, he quotes the Lord of the Rings, and Falcon is like, when did you watch that? He was like, I read the book when it came out in
Exactly.
1927 or whatever it was. And I was like, that's so fun. And you, Smeggle, now that we've discussed it and you've seen it and you've consumed it,
The Legend of Zelda.
all right.
Oh,
I see that. I see that. I see that.
Listen, I think they're coming out with another one too. I don't know, maybe Breath of the Wild 2, whatever. But the Legend of Zelda games, you know what? It was inspired by Mr. Tolkien himself and have kind of like, in a sense, is a romance. Do they ever, like, I don't know. It's weird. But I know for a fact that I kind of made it make sense in the first couple of games. And I was just like, whatever. It'll be important later. And that's where I stand on that. Join me next time as I talk to you about. Sorry.
Because the thing is, there's so much high fantasy, and of course, they all
Yeah.
kind of reference each other because there's only so many species that they, like the Fae, wizards, dragons, and all that. So there's a lot of that, and that's very on the nose. That you can definitely see the influences of Tolkien. Legend of Zelda is one of them. Anything high fantasy definitely has some kind of influence with Tolkien.
I mean,
But there are other works that you may not think of so much as it, but when you really get into the story itself, you're like, huh, I can definitely see a parallel there.
like that stupid Aragon movie.
Aragon. That is something that I wish that they would remake now. Now that all of Christopher Paolini's books are out,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the protection, because there is some good world building and characters there, like his cousin Brom, or I think that's his brother Brom, and some of the other like Fae in there are. It's very interesting. The same thing with
Mm-hmm.
that little shit, the little kid that's like Artemis Fowl. I did not understand that.
We went from little shit to Artemis Fowl, whatever his name, little shit. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were talking.
But one thing I would like to posit, and if you haven't seen this movie, then I totally get it. But one thing that I watched recently that I have not seen in a long time, and as I was watching it, felt very, very Lord of the Ringsy to me, was The Gangs of New York.
Really? Okay. What about what's the stupid name? The Dark Tower.
Oh, Stephen King?
Yeah.
That's definitely got anything high fantasy. I don't care if it's a Western or if it's sci-fi or like Star Wars even. Anything that's high fantasy
okay.
has its roots in Tolkien. 100%.
Game of Thrones.
That's too on the nose.
We gotta slap you. That's like so on the nose.
They didn't
I'm
have
talking
orcs,
about something that's
per se.
contemporary. And the reason why I said Gangs of New York is
Mhm.
because you have a power that is a corrupting power.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a new power coming in. To me, it's more like Scourge of the Shire than it is like actual like Lord of the Rings. But it's something that I was watching. I was like, this feels to me like when the hobbits come back to town, find what's left there and try to like get it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
My last one. Okay. I think it's a really good one.
Okay.
The Golden Compass.
Can you turn him off?
Yep.
It's his Dark Materials, which is funny that he says that because that man was the sworn enemy of C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, who was besties with Tolkien for a long time because of their shared passion for their Christianity. So it's very funny that he picked that one of all of them to choose from. So anyway, we have come to the end of another lively episode. I want to thank you once again for joining us for our Fantasy Tolkien Hobbit Day. I hope that you enjoy Hobbit Day tomorrow. Enjoy a second breakfast. If you can't get a lumbus bread, I would recommend a shortbread cookie. I imagine that's what lumbus bread tastes like in our world. And that you stay safe and, have a great week until we see you again. Thank you so much, Gimli and Smeggle, for joining me tonight. Once again, this is Four Letter Nerd, a Hyro Geekix Unlimited production. Thank you again and good night.
What about Pan's Labyrinth?
Oh, great series. But before we go, I have to give us one quote. Gandalf, from Gandalf, what we have, we all get a limited time here. I'm messing up the quote, but what's important is to decide what we're going to do with the time left to us. So
have fun.
We need a Gandalf the Black.
Speak, friend, and enter.
What is a dwarven word for friend? Bye, everybody.
Bye.